Hello and welcome to this edition of the Red Devil Postgame. I'm Kennedy Harris.
And I'm Maggie Lathem. In this week's show, we'll analyze Germantown's homecoming win against Bartlett and cover some of the best games from around the district. We will also have exclusive interviews with Coach Chris Smith and Fox 13 sports anchor Peter Fleischer. But before we get to those, let's look back at the homecoming game. Homecoming is always one of the best weeks of the year, and this year was no different, as GHS students geared up for the clash against the Bartlett Panthers. Throughout the week-long celebration, students took part in the homecoming festivities, building the excitement and anticipation for Friday's game. Of course, all of the focus was on the crowning of the homecoming queen. That honor went to Destiny Manning.
Destiny Manning!
Being the homecoming queen of class of 2017 feels great. Like, it wouldn't be a better feeling.
Now, Kennedy, everyone on the field was on the edge of their seats to find out who was going to be crowned homecoming queen. But the real story from Friday's game is that Germantown beat Bartlett 48-13.
Definitely, Maggie, that win was much needed, and on the offensive and defensive side, we were clicking on all cylinders. Now let's take a look at the 48-13 win over Bartlett in this week's game highlights.
In the first quarter, Germantown came out on fire, scoring 20 points quickly throughout. One by running back Cameron Terrari, one hard-fought touchdown by Cameron Walker, and a 60-yard passing touchdown to Jalen Williams. Then the second quarter began, with Germantown quickly racking up another touchdown, this one again by Cameron Terrari, shifting through the entire defensive line to get into the end zone. Germantown then recovers Bartlett's fumble to have another offensive drive, and with 8 minutes left in the half, Miles Guyton completed an 81-yard pass to Jalen Williams to tally another touchdown. At halftime, Germantown with a commanding lead, 34-0. After the break, both teams came back on the field ready to play another half. On Bartlett's first drive, they completed their first touchdown by running back D. Walker, but missed the kick after. Then Germantown responds with yet another passing touchdown to Jalen Williams, then turns around to get a rushing touchdown by Quentin Jamison to make the score 48-6. With Germantown in a heavy lead going into the fourth, it was clear how the game would turn out. Despite a passing touchdown by Bartlett with 3 minutes left in the game, the Red Devils scorched the Panthers 48-13.
Joining us on the set is Germantown head football coach Chris Smith. Thank you for joining us, Coach.
I'm glad to be here.
Now, Coach Chris Smith, the offense in this game was incredible, one of the best we've seen this season. Was your approach to this game different from previous games?
Yeah, we've mixed things up a little bit. We've changed some personnel, ran some different formations, trying to adjust to what I think we do well as a team. And I think it showed, and I think it worked for us.
Well, this was a big game, and Germantown definitely needed the win. How did you prepare the players for this game?
We kept the same practice schedule we always do. Like I said, I think the big thing was we made some adjustments on both sides of the ball, formation-wise, how we line up a little bit. And also the players are starting to take a more physical mentality, and I think it's showing on the field, and they stayed the course. They've done a great job of staying the course so far this year.
Now, when you see a junior like Jalen Williams who's just pushing through the defense, scoring 3 touchdowns total, what is your reaction on the sideline seeing a young player like that making so much impact?
We've known Jalen's got a lot of talent, and definitely he's a matchup problem for other teams. If they put another guy in the box, that allows us to throw the ball. And if they don't put another guy in the box, then we can run the football. And we got a lot of great players inside the box. We got good linemen, we got good quarterbacks, running backs. So he's definitely helped us out tremendously, and he's made some big plays for us. And we're looking forward to more of those also the rest of the season, also the senior year.
Well, Miles Guyton also had a great game. He was showing off his decision-making ability and passing accuracy. How did his focus affect the team chemistry?
Oh, I thought he was point on. On Friday night, he made some good throws. He stayed calm in the pocket. He didn't try to run out. He made a decision to keep his eyes downfield and throw the football, and some guys made big plays for him down the field, along with him making some good throws and making some good decisions. And hopefully that continues, and that starts in practice. That starts on how you do things, and we believe we're headed the right direction with that.
Now, the defensive side for this game was also incredible, starting with an interception by Ted Lyons and continuing with tackles from the defensive line all night. How did the defense prepare for Bartlett's offense?
The defense, they prepared to play a physical game. You could tell they were flying around the football. They were game tackling, as we call it. That means there's more than one guy trying to make the tackle. We have multiple people coming to make sure the tackle's made. The interception was big at the beginning of the game by Ted, and I think that set the tone for the game because I think we punched it in right after that to make it 13-0. So that was a definite momentum swing. Defense worked hard this week to pay attention to detail and alignments and firing off the ball low, and that showed. We came to play a physical football game. We hope that we found our identity, and we're going to try to keep that moving forward.
Well, we saw that as soon as the game began, the Red Devils scored 20 points with ease. How did this hype push you guys through the rest of the game?
It's always good to jump on people early like that. I think that 20 points was deceiving as well because I think we just set the tone physically that we were ready to play a physical game for 4 quarters, and I don't know. I think we got to keep that mentality the rest of the season because I think that's our identity. I think that's who we are, that we're going to play physical, but we can also make the big play at times too. So it definitely set the tone for the rest of the football game, but I was proud of the way we came out and finished the ball game too.
Now, Bartlett did end up scoring twice, but they weren't able to push past you in the second half. What was said to players during halftime to keep them going?
We try not to pay attention to the score. We do pay attention to results, but also we want to pay attention to how they graded on tape assignment-wise. We evaluate the tapes after the game. So we said the score, success is never final and failure is never fatal. So what that means is the score could be what it is. However, that doesn't mean you're going to keep experiencing success the second half. And we made a special point to make sure we're going to evaluate them regardless if it's practice, if it's game, no matter what the score is, and we stay true to that.
Well, there were a lot of great plays during this game by Germantown. What was the best moment for you?
The best moment to me was putting the exclamation point on homecoming. Once we won that game, I saw the belief in the players' eyes, the belief in the program's eyes, that it's going the right direction. And it was good for those seniors to get that homecoming win. And, of course, they'll always have that memory, and that lasts forever. So hopefully that'll move forward in the momentum rolling forward.
Now, like you mentioned, it was homecoming and the crowd was really hyped up. Do you think that the crowd's reaction was influencing the players' abilities?
They definitely do. They feed off the energy. They could feel it. The music, the band was great. They played loud all night. Our fans cheered loud all night. Of course, that fuels our players, and they love to see the support. We've always had great support here, and we hope they continue to come out and be intense and spirited fans like they have been all year.
Well, after this big win, you guys are preparing to play on Collierville tonight. How are you guys preparing for this game?
We had a great week of practice this week, and I hope that carries over into tonight's game. They've been very physical all week in practice. The players have been into it. Everybody in our program, I think we're ready to go out and play tonight. Collierville's a high-caliber opponent, and so we're playing at their place, which is known to be a tough place to play. They have great support, great crowd as well, so we're looking forward to the opportunity and the challenge and see if we can do it again.
Well, Coach Smith, thank you so much for being on the show with us today and telling us more about this exciting win.
Appreciate y'all having me on.
We have to take a short break. We'll return shortly with a look from the players' point of view and a special interview with the Fox 13 sports anchor, Peter Fleischer. Stick around.
Welcome to Germantown High School, an international baccalaureate creative and performing arts optional school, a destination school for students who are going places.
Our students are of the highest caliber when it comes to their academics and knowledge.
The IB program is a very rigorous program.
You were challenged in a way that you thought you couldn't be challenged. You succeeded, something that other kids may not have thought they could do.
They're accepted to colleges that are just, dream colleges for so many people.
Germantown High School offers a CAPA program, the Creative and Performing Arts program.
When I first came here, I saw the television studio and I was just amazed at what all I saw.
Kids do everything, that they're taught every detail that has to do with theater arts and creative arts.
I love a lot of things about Germantown High School, but primarily what I love is the athletics. There's something exciting around every single corner.
We probably are one of the most diverse high schools in the state of Tennessee, maybe the United States.
I would never doubt about sending your child to Germantown High School.
This high school is something not like any other high school that we have.
There's definitely fun in the work. We find fun in everything we do.
You're watching the award-winning GHS-TV, a nationally recognized student television station.
Welcome back to this edition of the Red Devil Postgame. I'm Kennedy Harris.
And I'm Maggie Lathem. Before the break, we checked out the highlights from Germantown's game against Bartlett and talked with head coach Chris Smith. Now let's see the game through the player's point of view in this week's Player Playback.
Interception number 34.
We played really hard tonight, and I think that, if we just stay the course and keep playing like this the rest of the year, I think we're going to be okay team.
We kept fighting throughout the game. They was up by a lot, but we just kept fighting.
First half really wasn't there, but second half really brought it home.
We got a few things to work on, more offensive execution, work on the secondary for defense,
We got to execute. We got to do what the coaches are telling us to do because they know what they're doing, All of them play college ball, so they know what they're talking about.
We had a really intense practice all throughout the week. Defense played us really hard. That's what got us so prepared to play against this defense tonight.
You just got to keep coming into practice each and every day, working hard, just trying to become a better team.
I had an excellent time. I love the game of football, so, I always have an excellent time playing.
Number 1 through the middle on the left side.
Getting to talk to players, especially after a win, is always exciting, and some people even turn it into a career. Earlier this week, I sat down with Fox 13 sports anchor Peter Fleischer to get a better idea of what it takes to be a local sports reporter.
Happy Friday night and welcome to another edition of the Fox 13 Friday Night Blitz. We begin our coverage with a grudge match. Powerhouse.
Mr. Fleischer, thank you so much for being on the show with us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So, how did you get into sports reporting? Was it something you always wanted to do?
Honestly, it kind of just came up naturally. I've loved the aspect of competitive sports all my life, and I love sports, so that kind of is just something that I actually fell into. I didn't really grow up watching local news or watching local sportscasters. I was always a fan of ESPN and the teams that I followed, but really getting into sports TV for me was just something that kind of happened organically, and I'm lucky it's worked out pretty well so far.
Now, you say you love sports and love watching sports, but did you ever participate in sports growing up, and did that influence your career?
Yeah, I don't know if it directly influenced my career because you see a lot of guys that love sports or a lot of people that love sports, and then it doesn't really translate to what you have to do to be in sports TV, but it definitely didn't hurt. I played baseball, basketball, football growing up, and that definitely fueled my love for sports and how I felt about local teams. But there's always that fine line between people that play sports and then the world of sports TV. Just a lot of different skill sets that you need to have. So I was lucky, yeah, like I said, that it's worked out.
And you have a show on Fox 13 called the Friday Night Blitz. How do you choose what games to cover?
It's a bear. Basically, how I like to do it is I'll get in front of it for a couple of weeks, maybe 2 or 3 weeks during the summer. So TSSAA will release its schedule, and I'll kind of get a feel for, you have an idea what games might be fun, what games might be competitive the first few weeks of the season. And so at that point, maybe mid-July, I'll be able to pick out games for weeks 1, 2, and 3. But after that, you really get a feel for who is good and what rivalries might be exciting to cover maybe a month into the season. So at that point, like this last week, for example, I waited until Sunday. I look at, okay, who won last Friday? Who do we have highlights for? Who maybe do we need highlights for? Maybe we haven't gotten to this particular school enough. And then I'll kind of evaluate that 4 or 5 days in advance. We'll pick that out before the week begins. And then by Friday, we're at the games shooting highlights and providing that coverage.
And how do you pick which plays are going to be highlights?
It just kind of depends. Obviously, everyone loves a home run or a touchdown or a big dunk. But again, at Fox 13, we really try to bring highlights that are kind of alternative and unique in their own way. So of course, if a game ends 45-42, we're going to show a lot of touchdowns. But if there's a big interception or there's a big hit or there's a turnover that really changes the game, we'll like to focus on that as well. We've had stuff like a kicker kicking a long field goal or a fake punt that worked out well. If we can feature kids or a type of play that we don't always get to use, that's obviously something that we'll try to do. We like to mix it up as much as possible.
Now, you've worked in several TV markets. Within those cities, which high school games did you enjoy the most?
Oh man, in every market's completely different, but in every market there's some of the same similarities, and so those big rivalry games are fantastic no matter where I've been. This is my 3rd market, and in all those markets, whether it's a small, tiny school, a couple of towns that are only a few hundred people, or big city rivalries. I'll be at Germantown, Collierville this Friday. That's an exciting rivalry game. So whenever the stands are full, the players are jacked up, and you can kind of feel that buzz on a Friday night during fall, or a closed gym during the winter, a basketball game, something like that. Whenever the rivalry and the passion is there, that's definitely my favorite type of game, because that's really tough to replicate. You don't get that everywhere you go, every week that you go shoot sports.
Now, what about your favorite sport? Do you have one sport you like covering more than the other?
I think my favorite sport is probably basketball, but I've also had the most exposure to that. So I got sent to Oakland for the Grizzlies and the Warriors, to Oklahoma City for the Grizzlies and Thunder. That's what I've been exposed to the most. But I've also gotten to go to a couple of big bowl games during my time covering college football. I've gotten lucky enough to cover the NFL as well. So I love basketball. I think it's such a unique, dynamic sport where really the results are maybe the most unpredictable in that, and that's always fun to cover. But I'm lucky. There's kind of through every season, you're always busy and you're always covering sports that you enjoy.
Now, you've mentioned some of the best parts of your job, but what would you say is the hardest part of your job?
Working in sports TV, you're going to work holidays, you're going to work weekends. So I've missed birthdays, I've missed weddings, I've missed, holidays that I don't get to be with my family. And I'm lucky, I'm close-ish to home, and my family can work with me a little bit there, but that's really, really tricky. The other thing is the days are really, really long if you're covering an event that's worth covering. So for the Memphis Tigers game last year, for example, in Birmingham against Auburn, we were up and we were doing live hits at 6 a.m. The game kicks off, you're up all day, you're shooting the game. We're providing coverage back for the 5 p.m. newscast. That's 11 hours after we started. We send stuff back for the late newscast. We drive back from Birmingham to Memphis. It's maybe a 17, 18-hour workday. So you can miss things that you want to be a part of. You can miss holidays and stuff like that. You can work long days, but when you're doing, it sounds cliche, when you're doing something that you love as your job, you're fortunate, you're lucky to do that. So that definitely makes it all worth it.
So going back to shooting the games a little bit, you are often shooting and editing your own footage. Does that make your job easier or harder, would you say?
It just depends on your personality. For me, I'm a little OCD. I'm kind of a control guy. So being able to shoot my own highlights and editing all of my own highlights back at the station, for me, it's a benefit because I can know exactly what I'm getting into on air. I can cut it exactly how I like. I can shoot what I need to shoot. But there's times that you don't get to do that, and sometimes when someone else is editing your own highlights, it's a burden lifted. So I know people that can't stand to edit their own highlights. They want a photographer, they want an editor to deal with their own stuff. They'll live with the results. For me, I love to shoot, I love to edit because I know exactly what I'm getting when I go on air. But again, it's just kind of a person-to-person thing. So for me, it works out great.
Well, Mr. Fleischer, thank you so much for joining us today and letting us know about the exciting work you do.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
We are done with our highlights portion of the show, but coming up after the break, we've got our play of the night, of course, and Joey will give you one last forecast for tomorrow night's Memphis Tiger opener.
When we come back, reporter Adam Sapp will give us a look at some of the best games from around the district and the upcoming games for our Red Devils. Stay tuned.
Can you help me with this? My new dad teaches me all kinds of stuff.
Sure.
He helps me with homework.
That would be 3.6795.
Thanks.
Yep.
He helps me with my decision making.
I wouldn't use this one. Ever.
And he's even teaching me how to drive.
And that's why cars have bumpers.
I'm learning so much.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of kids in foster care will take you just as you are.
Hey, look, it's those guys.
Are you good to drive?
I'm fine.
How many did you have?
I should be fine.
You should be.
Go and step out of the vehicle for me.
See ya, buddy. Good luck. So turns out, buzz driving and drunk driving, they're the same thing, and it costs around $10,000. So not worth it.
You're watching the award-winning GHS-TV, a nationally recognized student television station.
Welcome back to this edition of the Red Devil Postgame. I'm Kennedy Harris.
And I'm Maggie Lathem. So Kennedy, this was a big game for our Red Devils, especially coming off of a losing streak. The offense was incredible. In your opinion, which player stood out the most?
Well, the first one that comes to mind has to be Jalen Williams, number 23. I mean, this guy was catching all over the place, and we've seen this before this season. However, this Bartlett game really showcased how athletic he really is. Also, you have to tip your hat to the quarterback, Miles Guyton. He was lunching the ball on every single drive, and he showcased his understanding of the playbook, making great decisions all through the night.
I would have to agree. Those players made a big impact on the field.
Now it's time to take a look at some of the top games from around the area. Reporter Adam Sapp gives us this update with video provided by WMC-TV. Adam?
Hitting the field first is White Station Spartans versus the Whitehaven Tigers. Throughout the whole game, the Spartans' pass offense dominated the Tigers. The Tigers' defense gave room opening for the Spartans, but the Spartans' defense crumbled as the Tigers' quarterback moved the ball down the field, capitalizing in the end zone, giving Whitehaven another win. Next game is top-ranked Cordova Wolves versus the Arlington Tigers. Cordova's running back pounded the Tigers' defense play-by-play, put many defenders in his way, sending up big play passes behind their starting quarterback, Devin Coleman, sending up their top receiver, Jacoby Hewitt, for a 35-yard touchdown run. But celebration shortly ended as the Tigers rushed down the field, gaining a quick red zone touchdown. But they couldn't pull off the game as Cordova takes the win. Last game is one of the hottest private school matchups in the district, Briarcrest Saints versus Christian Brother Purple Waves. The Purple Waves pass defense swarmed the Saints quarterback several times, forcing him to throw interceptions. The Saints offense didn't buckle as they capitalized in the red zone with a high arch pass in the end zone, hyping up the team along with the crowd taking the win in the upset.
Thanks, Adam. Now let's take a look at the top 10 teams around the district with this week's Power Rankings. Kicking off the rankings at number 1, we have Whitehaven, who defended their undefeated record of 7-0 last week against White Station with a score of 21-14. They hope to keep the wins going after playing a recently broken down Bartlett team next game. Number 2, Cordova also stands at 7-0 after a 25-21 win over Arlington last week. Their next game is against White Station, in which they will have to face a tough Spartans team in hopes of gaining yet another win. Number 3, MUS stands at 7-0 as well, coming off a brutalizing 43-0 rout against St. Benedict. The Owls are on bye this week, but will be back next week to clash helmets with Briarcrest at home. Christian Brothers stands at number 4, with a record of 5-2 after a tough loss to Briarcrest 23-20. The Purple Waves are also on bye this week and will go at it with St. Benedict next week. And at number 5, we have Lausanne, who sits at a record of 6-0. They faced North Point last week and won in familiar fashion with a score of 46-13. Next week, they will face MAHS at home. So Maggie, after those top 5 teams, we have Tresvant, who've been in deep controversy this season, especially with the issues of their head coach and the grade discrepancies.
You're right, but despite them having to forfeit their games, they still sit at the number 6 spot in the power rankings, and it's still to be determined if they will play next week. Getting back to the rankings, Ridgeway sits at number 7 after getting blown out by West Monroe from Louisiana 61-36 last week. They may drop in the rankings with a record of 4-3. They will play Kingsbury next week. Number 8, Harding sits at a record of 5-1 after blasting Westwood 48-8. Next week, they're on bye and will play the following week against North Point. And rounding out the top 10, we have East at number 9 with a 5-1 record, and Raleigh Egypt currently with a 7-0 record sitting at number 10. So Kennedy, out of the previous teams I just mentioned, which team do you think will stand out the most by the end of the season?
Well, although Raleigh Egypt is at that last spot in the top 10, they still are undefeated at 7-0. And being undefeated, I feel like they are the team to look out for out of those top 10 teams, or out of the last half of the top 10. And we should definitely see for them to be at a higher ranking by next time.
I agree. With that undefeated record, they're definitely the team to watch. Now we'll throw it back over to reporter Adam Sapp, who has the upcoming schedule for our Red Devils.
Thanks, guys. Kicking off the last 3 games on the Red Devils football schedule starts with quite a few heated matchups against big-name schools. First off is Collierville on October 7th at the Dragons' home turf. Look to see some great matchups at the wide receiver position from some of the top wide receivers in the AAA district. Next will be the Red Devils' debut against the White Station Spartans at the home of the Red Devils on October 21st. But that isn't the last of the Red Devils action. Buy your ticket and bring the heat on October 28th at Ken Netherlands Stadium. Cheer on your Red Devils to victory as they face the Arlington Tigers to close out their regular varsity season. Kennedy and Maggie, back to you.
You know, Kennedy, I'm really excited for our Collierville game coming up. The Dragons are one of our biggest rivals, and I'm excited to see how Germantown will show out after this big win against Bartlett.
Well, I'm looking forward to that October 21st matchup against White Station because the Spartans are having a pretty decent season so far, and to see how the Red Devils will match up with them definitely be an intriguing one to watch.
That will definitely be a great game to see.
Thank you for joining us on this edition of the Red Devil Postgame. If you would like more information about our program, visit us at www.ghstv.org or find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at GHS-TV. From all of us here at GHS-TV, I'm Kennedy Harris.
And I'm Maggie Lathem. We will see you again on the next edition of Red Devil Postgame. Go Red Devils!